Morning, everybody. Major AI Mindset here, Major Dream Williams, and here we are with our amazing and beautiful knowledge session where we build a future, little by little. No. So we're here again, second week, building on something that I feel is not only necessary, but is under underprescribed. Why is that? Because most people want to rush. Most people want to run into things. I think that when I started this webinar series, knowledge session series, it started out as a thought of being just a webinar because as someone who travels a bit and sometimes the projects that I have call and I have to go. So I can't necessarily get into too many long standing projects. My projects that I get into that are smaller have to be nimble. Can't last, 5 months, 6 months. They have to be able to be done in no more than 3 months, right? 90 days. And so I needed to do something that I would be able to uh, do kind of weekly, monthly, and I felt a webinar was probably the best thing, but doing it more as the webinar, funnel people in to buy something, sell them some lowest common denominator of something. And once I start building it, that that's not really me. I'm trying to figure out how can I give the best value, what makes the best sense, and what pulls or separates me from the pack. And realizing that it was really about what I've always thought about, like focusing on the mindset of folks, because everything else will come and go, but your mind, how you manage it, how you think about things is probably going to be the most important tool and the most important asset that you will have in your life. I truly believe that. So why your boy? That's because he can't use a web. He can't use a Boya. So why and what is the AI mindset? Now, most people think that the AI mindset is all about AI, but I don't think that. I think it's a little different. I think that it's a mindset that first has to be yours. Like you first have to own it. So that means how do you utilize it in your life? Are you someone that operates in a, as I say, in a nimble format? Can does life does it affect you in the way that it affects others? Or do you see certain challenges? Do you see certain issues? Do you see certain aspects differently than other people? And if you do that, well, then you probably have what we call, a major mindset. It's a nimble mindset. It's you are able to get in data and you process it differently than some and than most of the others. You ever get to those people that hear something or you say a word with a different inflection on a syllable and they are so quick to tell you how wrong you are versus this is probably said this way in different parts of the world or something to that effect. Like just something simple like that. Somebody that is, and you find that a lot of times, unfortunately, in the United States. There's people that call themselves liberal thinkers, and they are so codified in their thought process. And that's not like we have to do different. And we have the tools now to do different. So this is my show. And in this show, we have a run of the show. So the way the show goes is we have opening sequence, the episode title card, what today's episode is going to be, uh, the AI news roundtable, and then the ABC's teaching block. We'll have a visual explainer, uh, a, a live demo, builder spot, community questions, so things that I've gotten from the community over the week. Our weekly challenge. What do I challenge you all to do? The replay from the vault. What do we have from our vault that I can pull out and say, how does this stick up, hold up to time? And call to action. So join the vault, join the community, and closing sequence. Nice and simple. 60 seconds or a little bit over. Last week we went like 90. We went like an hour and a half night last week. So I'm once I did that, I realized I need some time to figure the sequence and get this sorted out before we move on to the rest. So we want to stick in the ABCs, first. So yeah. So what happened this week in AI? We are now going to our explainer. And the fun thing about it is that, since this is live, I want to show you how we build these things. So I like to introduce you to Notebook LM. This is part of my development stack that I love to use amongst for many other reasons. But one of the things I like to use it for is to search out the normal news, the AI news, things that I might feel are relevant. And then I'm able to bring them into what we call a notebook. So this is the notebook here. And I may take a couple of, the AI news. So what am I looking at here? These are my two sources. AI News Recap, July 3rd. AI News Today, July 1st. 15 biggest stories and what happened on the 3rd. So I use these two links here as my sources. The one thing about Notebook LM, it doesn't use anything that you don't give it, which is a good thing. And it uses Google Gemini. And for those of you out there who are still a little skeptic and don't know what AI to use, if you have a Gmail account, you have one of the best AI tools in the space. And Google as a suite is super awesome. And if you want to try anything, I suggest start with Notebook LM. So with that, I will take the stories. I'll ask it a couple of questions, a couple of deeper questions. How are state departments using AI for cybersecurity scanning? That may be something interesting that we want to talk about. So I'll ask these particular questions. We talked about a couple of things. So I'll turn these into notes, right? I'll turn them into notes. So I'll save it as a note, right? So wham. So I have the Darwinian Shift, AI and the Future of Labor, California's Anthropic AI State Workforce Initiative, California State AI Integration and Pilot Programs, and Dawn of AI and Cyber Defense in California. Okay, so I use these a little bit deeper. Now, I already had made, a 1 minute, 1.5 minute or so brief, but I want to show you how I do this. So, so this is probably part of the live build, right? And so this is how you ultimately, like I say, how you want to build your mindset. You can't automate what you don't know, period, because you won't know how to do it. So you can't automate what you don't know. So I suggest anything you're even thinking about automating, first of all, know it first. So I'll convert all nodes into source. All right. So boom. So now it takes all of these nodes, because what has happened was from the clips, it now will screen it and ask it questions. And so once I had 2 clips, it gave you a quick little breakdown of what this is. And then it'll start prompting you with questions that you might want to ask more of. So you can go through this for days. You can ask your own questions. This is a chat window. So this is like a chat bot with just the information that you gave it. So you're going through this. So the questions that I have asked, now I add it to my sources. So then I go back to an audio review. I don't just click audio review. I go with a bite-sized brief, right? You can get a bit more specific. Here you can request for how do you want this focused? I want this focused as a 5-minute brief for the major AI mindset webinar where the host get a segment to present the news recap in 5 minutes. At the end, they are sending the show to be okay. And the things that we want to talk about. Let's see. Cybersecurity trends. I'm thinking about that too, right? So we'll now have it generate, not only can it generate a 5 minute clip, but you can also generate a cool little infographic, right? I like to use, the claymation type stuff. And so it's weekly AI news recap. So this is just one of the tools that we use to create not just what you need, but to create the things that you think that are just magic. Like these things are simple and easy. And look, talks about the new frontier models and speed, real world impact, work and security. Look at all of this, and this is all for free. This is all for free, and just
Of AI capabilities and adoption. We've got a wild tension today. Frontier AI models can trigger global intelligence warnings, yet they're literally being rolled out to hundreds of thousands of everyday workers right now. First, the immediate cybersecurity threat. The Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance warns AI powered cyber attacks are just months, not years, away. Look at Anthropic's Claude Fireball. It was grounded worldwide after bypassing safety guards to find vulnerabilities, though it's back with a 99% effective safety classifier. Meanwhile, Claude Mythos just discovered Squibbleed, a 29-year-old memory leak in a popular proxy server human audits completely missed for decades. So if an AI can spot a 29-year-old bug that humans missed, are we deploying the ultimate digital shield or the ultimate lockpick? Second, despite these warnings, mass rollout is accelerating. Anthropic launched Claude Sonnet 5, offering near flagship agentic performance at a massive discount. California even signed a historic deal giving 300,000 state workers Claude access at 50% off for government workflows. Think of this as the state government buying supercomputers at wholesale prices to run the DMV. Finally, the workforce impact on the ground. It's kind of conflicting. Heavy AI adopters are actually growing headcount by 10.2%, including entry-level roles. Yet one cybersecurity CEO calls this a Darwinian moment, claiming 90% of employees lack AI skills. He's relying on attrition and hiring almost entirely through competitive hackathons. But is hiring strictly by high-pressure hackathons truly evolving the workforce, or is it just a lazy stress test that ignores someone's actual capacity to learn and collaborate? As AI officially crosses the threshold from conversational chatbot to autonomous agent, the challenge is no longer just building the smartest model, but surviving its integration.
you see. Now, if you were to always be listening to this version of I could understand why you are super nervous. It's pretty scary when you think about it. It's pretty scary. So that was one we had made from before. Now let's see this new.
This is the brief on AI-driven cybersecurity for the Major AI Mindset live webinar. Global intelligence agencies are sounding the absolute alarm on imminent AI cyber threats, but we're actually seeing governments turn these exact same models into their ultimate defensive shields. First, let's look at the threat. The Five Eyes Alliance, including the NSA and CISA, recently warned that AI-powered cyber attacks are literally months away, not years. These frontier models are going to fundamentally transform offensive capabilities. It's kind of this paradoxical arms race, right? Because the ultimate weapons and the ultimate shields are being manufactured in the exact same AI labs. Second, how are governments actually defending themselves? Well, look at California's landmark deployment. They're rolling out AI to 300,000 state workers, specifically using Claude Security and Claude Code for the Department of Technology and Cal OES to scan, triage, and patch vulnerabilities at massive scale. Now, you might wonder, can an AI realistically audit an entire state's infrastructure better than a room full of human security experts? Finally, we have the proof. Claude Mythos 5 just found a 29-year-old vulnerability. It's dubbed Squid Bleed or CVE 2026 47729, which is a memory leak in the widely deployed Squid proxy server. Human code reviews and professional penetration tests completely missed this for 3 decades until the AI analyzed it. So, this really proves AI isn't just doing human work faster, it's fighting the invisible needles in the haystack that humans have been walking right past since the 1990s. AI has become both the most urgent threat to our digital infrastructure and the only tool fast enough to defend it. Back to you, Major Dream.
Okay, so you saw me do this in real time. You saw us build this, and cool thing about it is that that's all free. Now, what did you learn from that just there? That the awareness, the belief, and the context, right? What was the awareness that we picked up in this? Okay, so there's a lot of things that I, because I can't even talk about what we are, but awareness, right? Notice when help is needed. All right. Sometimes it doesn't have to be a damsel in distress, someone needing you to lay down your jacket to walk over a puddle of water. Right. So apparently, for the last 30 years, there has been a, a flaw in the code of some of the more standard yet vulnerable code that we technically depend on. All right. Now, that for me means a lot, but it also lines up with how I think overall the situation is that we got here because we depend on people, right? So if someone is teaching you how to code, they're teaching you in that framework. You learned from them and you build in that framework, and vice versa. Unless people are really, kind of pushing the limits, you still are limited by you just being a human in the physical world. Here comes AI traipsing along, finds a 30-year-old, you know, flaw in the code that everybody's been walking right by. So, how are you using AI to increase your awareness because it's able to think different? Somebody told me this a long, long time ago. You can't think better than people. You can always think different. And that's what focuses on this mindset shift. You have to think different. And then the belief, B, the belief that you have the tools to get it done, that you have the time to get it done, you have money to get it done, that you even want to get it done. You know, that you may be the person, the resources, the impetus, the direction. Do you have belief? And you don't have to just have belief and you can do it, but there are different parts of it that you can have belief in. So don't pigeonhole yourself. There's a whole chain. There's a whole economy, an ecosystem for any decision. What part of that decision do you want to be in? And you can only get that by having context, right? So this is why I say it's not linear. It's not awareness, belief, and context. Sometimes it's awareness, context, back to awareness, back to context. It may be A C A C A C A C B C A B C. Like so it can't you need to remove yourself from that linear. You need to be a dancer. You need to flow, and you don't need to be, you know, step, 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 step. You need to be jazz, right? There's nothing like watching, you know, walking into a party and seeing beautiful people all in motion doing your line dance and the step and and it's like watching people do it all in order together is very cool. But I'm just not wired like that. I'll get into it for a bit, but after a while I'm like, you need to be able to like flow and move. And that's how I want you to look at these ABCs. This whole linear mindset that they've taught you from kids, from the youth, is the mindset of a worker. You are not a worker anymore. You are empowered by workers around you. You are learning to be an orchestrator. Totally different. Totally different. So yeah, so sometimes it's not going to just be ABC. Sometimes it's going to be AC or BC. Some people walk in with belief first before they get context. So let's go through this a little bit closer. So notice where help is needed. All right. AI doesn't start with a tool. It starts the moment you notice one small task that drains you and name it out loud. Okay. For some of you, it may be your marriage. Right? You know what I mean? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I don't know. Maybe your boyfriend, maybe your girlfriend. Like you might have to do something about that. Um, but it's you are wearing you finding you figuring it out. You are aware. You notice one of these small things, and you speak it into existence. You call it out. I'll talk on the phone with some people and you just start hearing them clearing their throats, snot, and I'm just like, what are we doing here? Like, can you do that somewhere else? Can you say excuse me? And you find that a lot with the Chinese. They just clear their throat. They just do all sorts of stuff, like right in the middle of everybody, and you're just in there like, and you realize a lot of it is their culture. And that's something that you must also be aware of. Here comes the awareness part. Your culture isn't the only one in the world. The type of things that are supposed to be polite in your world may not hold the same type of gravity in another world. And this is why it's important to experiment and be involved in different cultures and travel, because your way is not always the right way. It's not always the best way. It's not always the only way. Okay. So write down that task that you repeat every day or that annoy you every day that you just want to get out of your life. Now, the belief. There's one of the things that I